of the New Jersey Fun and Games. What's up, everybody? Welcome. I hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to kick it off with a new segment, which is kind of a throwback to an old segment we call Ask Mike. In this, I'm going to read questions, viewer questions, user questions. This question came to me from Instagram. A DM was sent from our good friend Kyle. I won't say the last name. And if you guys have a question, you can DM me on Instagram at the Dolce Diet, or you can send an email to mailbag at the Dolce Diet, and I'll bring this out. I want to hear what you think. Leave comments below this video. If you like these segments, give this video a thumbs up if you like my advice, or a thumbs down if you think I'm a freaking idiot, which is also very possible. And I will appreciate that. Now, in this one, let me mute this real quick. So I'm right straight to it. Enough with the preamble and the BS, which I've done in other videos. Let's get straight to it. Kyle asks, "What's up, coach? Random financial question if you have the time. Long story short, my company allows me to have a work car that I'm free to drive as my own, and a gas card is even included. I have a 2010 GMC Yukon that's paid for that I drive occasionally. I can sell it for $18,000 and use that money to be debt-free. Do I do it and worry about a car when needed? Thanks for the advice." Well, Kyle, brother, thank you so much for the question. I appreciate you being here and being a part of the community. Now, let me answer this with a little bit of story from my own perspective. Back in 2004, I married my wife. We packed up my Ford Explorer XLT Eddie Bauer edition. We drove across the country to take my new job as the head strength and conditioning coach of Team Quest North. This is when Randy Couture was, reigning supreme in the UFC light heavyweight division, and youngsters like Chael Sonnen and Nate Quarry, Ed Herman, Chris Lieben, well, they just hadn't even really made the pop yet into the scene. So at that time, my Ford Explorer XLT Eddie Bauer edition was a car lease. What does that mean? That means I was leasing the Explorer from Ford Motor Company. I was paying about $450 per month for that. And that I thought was okay because I had a pretty good job as a municipal tax assessor. My wife was a journalist for the largest newspaper in New Jersey back at that time. Well, as life changed, so did our circumstance. And that same year, the lease was up on the Explorer, and I had to give it back. Now, I had the Explorer, I think, for 2 or 3 years. I forget what it was. But regardless, I was spending $450 per month times 2 years or 3 years. That is $10,000 to $15,000 or more dollars out of my pocket that I had nothing to show for it. I literally had to give the truck back. And worse than that, I had to pay the miles off because I was over on the miles, which was another check for about $2,000 or so. So after all my hard work, nearly $15,000 or more in out-of-pocket expenses, I had nothing to show for this damn thing. And that's when I really started to focus on financial stewardship. I started to focus on money and money management and appreciation and interest and compounding interest. And now listen to me here, Kyle. Every lending institution uses this one simple rule against us, which is why JP Morgan Chase and Capital One and TD Bank and Wells Fargo and Bank of America build the largest buildings in every major city, in every state in this country. They sponsor baseball stadiums and football arenas, and they put their name, they put their logo on that. You ever think, where do they get the money to do this? How do banks make their money? They make their money off of interest that they charge you as a borrower. So What I found to do and what we did do, we actually, at that point, we paid off the debt on the Ford Explorer XLT. We got rid of it. And I purchased a $1,200 1992 Buick Regal from one of my clients, Mr. Jameson Hensley, who worked at the local Kia dealership in Gresham, Oregon. For $1,200, I bought a 1992 Buick Regal. It was a white car with neon red plush bench seats. I mean, it drove like a dream, but it was a grandma car, a 1992 Buick Regal I bought in 2005 for $1,200. We were $70,000 in debt at this point due to student loans and credit card debt on my wife's side, Brandy. But still, she was just doing what we were all doing, paying the minimum payments on everything else. And while I make enough money to pay all the payments, therefore I can afford it. That's what most people think. And she was dragging her debt with her. So we spent the next 2 years from 05 to 07. We paid off $70,000 in consumer debt, and we lived below our means, extremely below our means. I'm shocked we actually paid off that much debt because we barely made that much more than that in that period of time. Now, I drove this $1,200 Buick Regal. Brandy drove this $1,200 Buick Regal for that entire period of time. And within 2 years, we were 100% debt free, Kyle. And it felt like we were rich. There was no more debtor leaning over our shoulder, no more creditor leaning over our shoulder. There was no bills to pay other than the food we put in our mouth and the lights we turned on or chose not to. And that was it. What we chose to do, instead of partying, celebrating, living like the Joneses, we said, my goodness, if we could pay off $70,000 in debt in 2 years, how much do you think we could save as newlyweds over the next year? And we went to the business of saving the same money, making the same payment to our own savings account at first. And then we put it into a money market account that we were gaining like 3%, 5% interest, which was a lot at that time. And then we started to redeploy the same cash into no load index funds, which is what I talk about here on this channel all the time, S&P 500 index funds. And we were getting a rather great rate of growth. And what we learned, we actually use the same rules the credit companies have been using to build those massive buildings. We actually use that for ourselves. No longer were we slave to the lender. We actually now became benefactors of our hard work. We were able to take our money, save our money, take our savings, deploy it into investments, intelligent investments that appreciated through compounding interest. Now, that was 2007. Later on at the end of that year, we had been able to save up so much money. Brandy needed her own car. It was very hard. I was riding my bike to the gym, like the whole story. Hard 45-minute bike ride for me to get to the gym. She'd take the car and drive, and this whole thing. Thank goodness for the $1,200 Buick Regal. We went back to my good friend Jameson Henley at the Kia dealership. I said, what is the least expensive, safest, most economical car you have? They had this was in 2007. They had a 2006 Kia Spectra still on the lot that nobody bought in champagne gold. Now, this beautiful little car had manual roll down windows, manual door locks, an AM/FM radio with no CD player. $12,000 for this little car. Brand new. It was a year old. We were able to negotiate down. I think it was listed at like 16 and change. We were able to negotiate down to $12,000, which is exactly what we had saved up, earmarked for this specific car, for any car, up to $12,000. We bought that car. Brandy now had a Kia Spectra with manual roll down windows, manual door locks, AM/FM radio. That's it. bare bones, safe, economical, and it was such a great, cute little car, little compact sedan. So now I'm driving around in a $1,200 Buick Regal. She's driving around in this manual, Kia Spectra, and that's at the end of 2007. And this is the way we lived our lives. Now, in 2008, I earned my way onto the Ultimate Fighter. My career really started taking off. I was making more money now, much more money in 2008 than I was making in 2005, 2006. And then 2010, things really started to take off with the Dolce diet. I was all over TV. I was all over the stage. We had, our books were being published at this point by ourselves. We were growing. We were rapidly growing. We had, quote, made it. We were successful at this point. By how people would deem success, we had achieved what we had thought would have been success. Now, some of you who followed me for that long, you had watched me on stage and doing the things that I was doing, right? So I was there in magazine covers, which is super cool, and all the fun stuff. Well, in 2010, I was still driving the $1,200 Buick Regal. Brandy was still driving the 2006 Kia Spectra. In 2011, in 2012, I was still driving the 1992 Buick Regal. Brandy was still driving the 2006 Kia Spectra. We still worked our asses off every single day. We still gained in income and worked and worked and worked. But here's the difference, my friend. Kyle and everyone else watching, here's the difference. We no longer acted like the typical American. We acted like the owner of JP Morgan Chase. We acted like the owner of TD Bank. We acted like the owner of Wells Fargo. We acted like all the rich people did, not by the way we spent our money, by the way we saved and invested our money and protected our money. We lived below our means. We got out of debt, and this all starts with getting out of debt and freeing yourself of those monetary possessions that enslave you to the creditor, which inhibit your ability to deploy your money to grow for you, where instead you pay the bank and the money grows for the bank, and they build these bigger buildings and they sponsor these stadiums and they pay for these very expensive $10 million 30-second commercials on Super Bowl Sunday, right? That's all your money in interest payments. So in 2012, Brandy and I said, now it is time for us to purchase a home. Now, we had been living in nice apartments and townhouses below our means. Our first in Oregon for the 05, 06, 07, 08, we moved in 09. We lived in a $600 and it went up to like $650 by the time we moved out, 2-bedroom apartment in Red Sunset. If anyone knows Gresham, Oregon, we lived in the Red Sunset apartment complex. Very cute, very small, very quaint, very nice, very simple. 2-bedroom garden apartment. That's where we lived. The last year we were in Oregon, we actually moved into a townhouse. That was $800, $900 a month. And my brother moved in for a period of time and he covered the part of the rent. So we paid no more additional money. 3-bedroom townhouse. He paid a little bit of the rent. We paid the same amount. But let me get back to this. So in 2012, we said it's time to buy. And in 2012, we purchased our first house. A beautiful home, 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 3-car garage home. The last house on a cul-de-sac in a gated community in Summerlin, which is a desirable location in Las Vegas for sure. And we purchased our first home for cash. Not only did we purchase our first home completely for cash, we were able to purchase it 20% below market value because we were a cash buyer, because we were prepared with cash. We could close with cash. We could close immediately with cash. And the buyer's purchaser had fallen out of escrow. They couldn't get the approval from the lending institution because their credit was a little iffy. So the person who wanted to buy that home and put money down to buy that home could not buy the home because they could not get final approval from the lending institution. And the seller was now in a pinch because their father was sick. They had already moved to North Carolina to take care of their dad. And we just happened to see this house pop back up. We called the real estate agent. We said, this house is amazing. Do you already have the inspections? Yes, they're already done. We can close today with cash. And we gave the price, which was 20% below, slightly under 20% below the market price for that property. We closed within 2 days. That is a real story. That is a true story. Had we not done what the banks do, had we not embraced compounding interest, had we not had the discipline of self and the wherewithal to not care that our friends were driving Range Rovers and Mercedes and Lexuses, going on fancy vacations and getting all blinged out, because I was hanging out with pro athletes, pro fighters, right? Actors and actresses started hiring me, right? I'm working with these elites. The elites were hiring me and became friends and super cool people. And most of them, for a time, were making more money than us, and they had way more stuff than us. But we had more money in our bank account. And that's what matters most. And some of them lost their stuff. Repos, foreclosures. Some of them, you know some of their names. They're now trying to scratch a living together, fighting in lower tiered promotions. No disrespect to the promotions, but you fight at the top of the food chain on the main events for world titles. And now you're trying to sling by making a couple bucks just to cover the bills. It's not because you were good with your cash. It's because you were bad with your cash. And that is a great analogy for any industry. So to answer your question, Kyle, if I'm you, I'm selling that Yukon right now, knowing the market. SUVs right now are selling at premiums. I'm selling that right now. I'm wiping out all that debt, and I'm taking the money I was paying on bills, and I'm immediately stacking that cash. I'm putting that into safe accounts first, right into your savings account. I'm going to look for some sort of money market account or high yielding interest bearing account. Maybe I'm going to break off just a little bit into a USDC, which is a stable coin tethered to the US dollar. I like Voyager for that. There is a link below if anyone's interested in that. I have a couple extra dollars because you can gain Voyager and Celsius actually are two of the few. I probably use 30 different investment vehicles out there. To be fair, I like to spread everything out in case one crashes or fails. It's a small percentage of overall net worth and portfolio and liquid cash and investments. And even in our 401ks and 529s, we use a variety of providers because I don't trust any bank, to be fair. So that's just a thought for you. And slowly diversify your portfolio with your savings. Deploy your savings into appreciating investments via compounding interest if possible. And then eventually, Kyle and everyone else listening, start looking towards maybe a little bit of real estate if possible. Let's try and get you out of the rental. Because what happens, guys like Grant Cardone, who I disagree with on this topic, Robert Kiyosaki, I disagree with on this topic, they say, don't buy your residence, rent, because you can take the money that you would have been paying on your residence. It's not locked up in your house, and you can put that into something else. Well, that's nice, fine, and dandy until 2018 or 2008 comes. Right? That's fine and dandy until you got an issue with your job. That's fine and dandy until inflation spikes sky high as it is right now. Wouldn't it be great to have zero rent payment, zero mortgage payment, zero lease payment, and your home is appreciating in value as it is right now? Property is appreciating dramatically in value right now. Rents are appreciating dramatically right now. Right? Could you imagine having to pay more and more and more? $1,000. I mean, you're paying $1,000 in rent 2 years ago, you're paying $1,300, $1,500 a month right now. And those properties are appreciating dramatically in value. Had you bought a property or buy a property now as it appreciates in time, right? And then you're actually hedging against inflating rents because you now have no bills, no mortgage bills, no rent payment. Just another conversation down there. Now, I will have more of these conversations. If you have any questions on this stuff, guys and gals, please click the link below this video. I'd love to share more information on this, on financial topics with you. This was just one of the financial topics that actually came up, and I do appreciate that. Fitness topics and all that fun stuff, we will talk about that stuff too. Now, I want to throw something out there from the MMA world, which I thought was interesting. For those of you who hung out this long, you'll probably appreciate this. Let's bring this on right now. Now, here, this young lady is Pearl Gonzalez. I'll actually minimize my face and just bring up Pearl so you can see this and hear this more. Pearl Gonzalez is a bare knuckle FC fighter. What's interesting now, this is on the business space, and let's get down to business. Sweating. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this. Platform to garner attention so she can monetize all the hard work that she's put in. Now, this is a professional fighter. I think Pearl's a good fighter. I think she's tough gal. Here she is in bare knuckle FC, slanging and banging. Now, what's interesting about Pearl Gonzalez and what she's doing and what many of the other athletes are doing out there now is they are using their brand to drive their traffic. Paige Van Zandt, right? Bare Knuckle FC right here, to drive their traffic where? To their fan pages. Now, these fan pages, subscribe for $10 a month, where then you could see these Paige Van Zandt photos. You can even tip her, right? So now, the whole point of this is, think about it, because this is a financial conversation. These athletes are now monetizing their brand, monetizing their skills, and they're building lateral funnels that are synergistic to their primary core business. Pearl and Paige's core business is combat sports. Combat sports gave them the platform. They're still training, they're still working, they're still participating in combat sports, and they're still monetizing from combat sports, but they've built laterals next to this. They've used their brand in an intelligent manner in order to bring more income and increase their base. It's very interesting. So now, how do we take this? How do we grow this? This is, let's say you build a widget, whatever that thing might be. You work in widgets, whatever that thing might be. Let's say, here's an easy one. You're a carpenter. You're a 9-to-5 carpenter. You work for a local subcontractor who typically gets jobs from a local contractor, and you go out there, you frame the house, you do the trim, whatever it is. You do all the rough-ins, the fit-ins, you tie up everything at the end. Whatever you do, that's great. Awesome. High five to you. That's your 40, 50 hour a week job. What you can also do is you can have a little side business. On the weekend, you and your son, your nephew, your buddy, you can go and maybe build a deck. Maybe you do custom fireplaces. Maybe you do railings and banisters. As a side job that runs lateral to your main job. So you have your W-2 40-hour week employee job. Then you have your side business, which is you now as a sole proprietor, a DBA, doing business as Johnny's, decks, whatever that thing might be. And then maybe that business grows to the point that you then don't have to go and build the decks because you taught your nephew and your cousin and your buddy how to do it as good as you. And you then use your reputation to go out and bid out a couple other decks. So now, let's say you and your nephew, you go and do one deck, and then you get another job. You send your buddy and your cousin to go the other deck. You pop in, you check, you make sure. So you got your 40-hour a week job, you got your little sole prop, and now your company is starting to grow. You then say, hey, this is going so well. Some of those guys out there, DIYers that might not be able to afford me to do it, I might want to launch a YouTube channel. I might pop up a YouTube channel and say, hey, guys, your kid drew on the wall. You don't know how to get it off. Here's something that we do real quick in the industry. Oh, your dog, like my dog Zoe, she chewed through the wall one time when she was a puppy. How do you fix sheetrock? Here's how you actually do it. Cut it, paint it, spackle it, sand it. This is how you do it. You can launch that. In time, you might even be able to start launching your own product. Little sheetrock fixing kit. You put a few things together, you can sell to all these local DIYs out there. That's just a thought. So this goes back to, where is it? Let me go back here. Let me go back here and give credit where credit is due. This goes back to Miss Pearl Gonzalez. I saw this pop up and I saw this, and obviously
let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this. Let's get down.
I'm not telling you to go and sign up for people stuff or don't sign up for people stuff. That's not the point of this. This isn't like an ad or anything for Pearl. This just shows the business mind of these young ladies out there, Pearl and Paige and Rachel and all these other girls out there who are just doing interesting work building these businesses. I thought it was great. Just to share with you guys, there's a little side, a little bonus. Christian says financial advice equals stress management equals fat loss. Thank you. Bam, sell that thing, sell that truck. That's right. John, hey Mike, do you answer comments midstream? I just did. California finances and fitness. Thank you, Mike. You got it. Amanjit says great advice. Invest, don't consume. Amen, my friend. Guys and gals, I appreciate all of you for being here. Thank you so much for being a part of the channel. If you were aware or not aware, thedolcediet.com, we are having a 25% discount right now on the #1 rated healthy online diet and exercise program designed to cut fat fast. You can see just a few of the thousands of before and after testimonials that we have at thedolcediet.com. Click the link below. Summer Shred is the discount. Save 25% right now and get in the absolute, look at this, best shape of your life, all at the DolceDiet.com. I appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you so much, as always. And until next time, where is it? Boom!